The mining station on Kepler 442b hummed with the usual cacophony of drilling equipment and atmospheric processors. Blake wiped sweat from his brow as he maneuvered through the crowded marketplace, arms loaded with supply crates destined for the human quarter. The station housed dozens of species, each more intimidating than the last, but humans had learned to keep their heads down and their voices quiet. That was until Blake collided with something, or rather, someone. The crates clattered to the metal floor as he stumbled forward, his shoulder making unfortunate contact with what he immediately realized was a very dignified, very important-looking alien. He heard a sharp intake of breath, followed by an ominous silence that seemed to spread through the marketplace like wildfire. Blake looked up slowly. Standing before him was a sanguinar, one of the vampire-like species that dominated this sector of space. She was tall, easily 7 feet, with obsidian skin that seemed to absorb light itself. Her eyes glowed an unsettling crimson, and her elegant features were twisted into an expression of pure fury. The elaborate ceremonial armor she wore marked her as high-ranking nobility. "Do you want to die, human?" Her voice was silk, wrapped around steel, each word dripping with lethal promise. The marketplace had gone completely silent. Even the machinery seemed to quiet. Blake felt every eye, human and alien alike, fixed on him. His throat went dry. I'm so sorry, ma'am. You touched me." She pronounced the word as if it were a curse. A human dared to lay hands upon Lady Vexira of the Third House. Blake's mind raced. He'd heard stories about the sanguinar. They were warriors, conquerors, and they treated most other species as little more than cattle. Humans were particularly low on their hierarchy, weak, short-lived, and utterly unremarkable. Touching one without permission was apparently a death sentence. "Please," Blake said, keeping his voice steady despite his hammering heart. "It was an accident. I'll accept whatever punishment you deem." "Punishment?" Lady Vexira leaned down, her face inches from his. He could smell something like copper and ozone. "You think punishment is sufficient? I could tear out your throat right here, and the station authorities would commend me for maintaining proper order." That's when Kennedy's voice cut through the tension. "Actually, you couldn't." Blake's heart sank even further. Kennedy pushed through the crowd, her mechanic's coveralls stained with grease, her red hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looked completely unafraid, which was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. "Kennedy, don't—" Blake started. "Section 7, Paragraph 3 of the Interspecies Cohabitation Agreement," Kennedy continued, walking right up to stand beside Blake. "Physical accidents resulting from crowded conditions do not constitute assault unless malicious intent can be proven. Station security would have to investigate, testimonies would be taken, and the whole process would take weeks." She crossed her arms. "Somehow I doubt a noble of the Third House wants to stick around this mining station for weeks over a bumped shoulder." Lady Vexira's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You dare quote law to me, human?" "I dare quote facts," Kennedy replied evenly. "And here's another fact. You're in the human quarter. We might be considered weak by sanguinar standards, but there are 200 of us on this station. You really want to start an incident over an accident?" The vampire woman straightened to her full height. For a moment, Blake was certain they were both about to die. Then something unexpected happened. Lady Vexira laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound, but a laugh nonetheless. "Interesting," she said, studying Kennedy with newfound attention. "Most species grovel or flee. Humans do neither, it seems." She turned her gaze back to Blake. "You're fortunate your companion has more courage than sense." "I prefer to think I have courage and sense," Kennedy shot back. "Kennedy, please stop talking," Blake muttered. Lady Vexira circled them slowly like a predator assessing prey. "I've heard rumors about your species, that despite your physical weakness, despite your brief lifespans, you possess something the rest of us lack: determination, audacity." She paused. Insanity? All three, usually, Kennedy said. We're funny like that. I could still kill you both, Lady Vexira said conversationally. Law or no law? You could try, Kennedy agreed. But Blake here is an engineer who keeps half the mining equipment running, and I maintain the atmospheric processors in sections 7 through 12, including the ones in the Sanguinar residential area. We die, and suddenly a lot of things start breaking down. Funny how that works. Blake stared at Kennedy in horror. Was she actually threatening a Sanguinar noble? But Lady Vexira tilted her head, something like respect flickering in those crimson eyes. You're either the bravest human I've encountered or the most foolish. Why not both? Kennedy shrugged. Look, Lady Vexira. Blake apologized. It was an accident. You can make a big deal out of it and waste everyone's time, or you can accept the apology and we can all go about our day. Your choice. The silence stretched. Blake could hear his own heartbeat thundering in his ears. Finally, Lady Vexira stepped back. Very well. I accept your apology. She said it as if the words physically pained her. But know this, humans, next time there will be no mercy. She swept away, her entourage of guards falling into formation behind her. The marketplace slowly returned to its normal noise level, conversations resuming cautiously. Blake let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Kennedy, you're completely insane. Yeah, probably, she agreed, picking up his scattered crates. But we're alive, aren't we? We nearly weren't. Kennedy grinned at him. Nearly doesn't count. Come on, let's get these supplies delivered before you bump into someone else important. As they walked away, Blake couldn't help but smile. Maybe humans were weak compared to the rest of the galaxy. Maybe they were short-lived and unremarkable. But they had something else. The sheer audacity to stand their ground when any sensible species would run. Humanity, indeed.